Good evening, everyone. It is 6 p.m. in the Eastern Caribbean, 5 p.m. in Jamaica, and 4 p.m. in Belize. Welcome to this edition of Let's Talk Access. This is a social media program that is produced and presented by the UE Global Campus, opening doors to life-changing learning. I am pleased to be your host, and I am Sigufani Brian. Thank you very much for taking time out to join us wherever you are on the World Wide Web, wherever you are in the virtual space. Today, I have the utmost honor of speaking with two of our recent graduates from this year, that's 2024, and they would have graduated from the Global Campus. These two, of course, they represent two different countries in which Global Campus sites are located. I know you're excited to hear their individual stories. And of course, I'm more than happy to now welcome our very special guest, Yonette Walton-Stobie. She studied the B.Ed in Secondary Mathematics Education. And Yonette is from the BVI, the British Virgin Islands.
Good evening, everyone.
We also welcome Ms. Stephanie Fenelon. She studied the B.Ed in Early Childhood Development and Family Studies. Stephanie is from St. Lucia. Welcome, Yonette and Stephanie.
Hello, everyone. I am Stephanie.
Yes, it's such a pleasure to be with you two this evening. And of course, you will have the opportunity to introduce yourself and to share a bit on who you are and why you studied at the Global Campus. But before we do so, in fact, go ahead. Let's start with Yonette. Just say a bit about yourself. Just introduce yourself to our viewers, please.
All right. Good evening again, everyone. As was said, my name is Yonette Walton-Stobie. I am a mother and a wife. And my journey at the Open Campus actually started quite by accident. I was accompanying one of my friends. They were going to inquire about continuing their program. And you know what? I was like, I'm just going to go and see what is going on. And when I got to our site, you know, the ladies, they were so encouraging. I decided I'm going to register. And so that is how it started. I first started my degree in education at the University of the Southern Caribbean, but that was when I lived in Guyana. And then when I migrated here to the BVI, I couldn't continue my program, so I was happy to be able to still pursue my degree at the Open Campus.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you very much for that brief introduction. Stephanie, please go ahead and introduce yourself to the viewers.
Hi, everyone. I am Stephanie Fenelon from the beautiful island of St. Lucia, as you would know. And I currently reside in Marigot, St. Lucia. However, who I am and where I come from is really from, first, a small community in the south called Vigier. And then I was nurtured in Margaret Micode. Why did I pursue early childhood education? Well, I an adult now, but I started my schooling at the age of 10 years. And when I started school at the age of 10, it was a bit challenging because I entered the school not knowing anything, how to write my name or anything like this. However, based on that, I decided, let me attack early childhood education so that I can know exactly what this is about. And this is what I did.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Stephanie, for that introduction. I think you've whet our appetite so that we could just stay tuned to find out, you know, the meat of the matter, why you decided to study the program that you chose. Now, just so that we can unwind for a bit, I have some surprise questions for you too. The first
Oh,
question, I think I'm going to give that one to Yonette.
Okay.
Based on your experience, can you tell us what was one of your favorite ways to unwind after a long study period?
Oh, that one is easy actually. My favorite, and all of my children they would tell you, romance movies.
Oh,
I would just sit down and all day and I would just binge watch, especially now if it's at the end of the fall semester when Christmas Hallmark movies will come out. So I would sit and watch them all afternoon or all evening and just relax.
I don't think you could ever go wrong with those types of movies. They're high up there on my list as well. So great answer. I knew that question was for you. All
Lovely.
right, so Stephanie, what about you? It's a different question. What is the most unusual place that you have ever joined an online class from?
oh boy.
It
Oh
sounds like
my
you got a
gosh.
flashback.
Why me? I think I was at I was at a wedding reception, and we had to meet as a group online to discuss something with our e-tutor at the time.
Mhm.
And I say, boy, by the hook or by the crook, I am not going to miss this wedding party for not nothing. So for nothing at all. So I logged in, I made my contribution. I mean, I had my earphones on, and yes, it went on. And I was a group leader. So yes,
Well, it's a lucky thing that you weren't a bride at the day on that day. So,
I know, but I was the maid
yeah.
of honor, but that was cool.
Oh, that's pretty close though. But anyways, you got it done with your commitment. So
Yes,
congrats on that
yes.
one. Okay, so now I know that you gave us, a brief introduction, Yonette, that is, as to how she came about to study at the global campus. But if you can go into a bit more detail and tell us why is it that you still opted for the global campus, even though, yes, the ladies, the staff at that institution were very convincing. They woo you in, but still, you could have gone somewhere else, but you opted not to. So, can you let us know, like, what really pulled you to remain with that institution?
Well, the first thing that struck me was that it was available. Just the mere fact that there was an opportunity right here in the BVI, right here on Tortola to pursue my degree, that alone was enough for me. But when you think about the environment, the structure that it provides, I am one of those persons that would do a lot better on distance learning than face to face, where I have to be in the classroom. And of course, teaching does not necessarily provide you a lot of time to be in the classroom. And so the open campus was the perfect blend of you get enough guidance from your e-tutors and the online lesson sessions that we have, but you also got a lot of freedom to work around your schedule. And I think that was the biggest advantage for me because you have work, you have family responsibilities. I'm also an active member of my church. So with all of those dynamics, having an environment that is flexible, I think that was one of the biggest advantages.
Yes, definitely. And I'm sure Stephanie can agree with that. Right, Stephanie, you want to chip in?
I chose the global compass because, again, like she said, we're at work, we are teachers, and then you have to think of, do I want to study without pay, or do I want to stay and blend it in with my work? In other words, do I really want to do this thing part-time? Can I handle it and everything like that? Actually, I was supposed to start my studies 3 years ago, and I felt like I was not ready. So I decided to Google and research on different universities. And then I still felt a bit trapped. However, I decided to ask my past dean at Teachers College right here in St. Lucia, Dr. Felicien. And I asked him, sir, I want to do early childhood education, and it's online for some persons did it online, right? However, with open campus or global campus now, I had to do 4 practicums, right? So now I'm telling myself, hey, you should do this thing online and you won't have 4 practicums to do, or do you want to do it here and go for 4 practicums so that at the end of the day, you can stand firm and say, hey, listen, I was in the classroom. I know what it is to plan those lessons. I know what it is to differentiate. I know what it is to execute. I know what it is to be successful. And so with all that, thinking about that, when he spoke to me, I said, you know what? Global campus it is. I went there, I did all the paperwork. Miss Springer was awesome. She helped me, and that's it. Wonderful.
That's good. And you too would have noted that in terms of your career, you are both teachers. So,
Yes.
Stephanie, what grades do you teach? Grade or
Oh,
grade?
initially, I started teaching. I taught French and music for about 5 years. And then I got a little bored of doing that because I had returned from Teachers College, and I'm asking myself, you learn so much again doing practicals and all that. And I felt like I was restricted. I had not utilized what it is that I really invested in. So I said to my principal during COVID, you know, Miss, I want to try a classroom. And then she gave me kindergarten. So yes, so then it's my 4th year teaching kindergarten. Yes, and it's been wonderful. It's been wonderful.
Kindergartners, that must be one interesting transition.
It's been wonderful. It's been wonderful. Yes.
Dionette, you mentioned also that you are a mother and you are a teacher,
Yes.
right? So how has that been for you in terms of being able to incorporate the information that you would have learned in the online environment and translating it or transferring it to your classroom environment?
It was actually quite easy. One of the best part of being in class and being in school was how readily you were able to apply what you're being taught. And so, as fast as we would have gotten to a particular concept, whether it was cognitive or pedagogy, whichever one it was, I was able to try it out in my classroom. So it was not difficult transitioning, and especially because I knew the students. And, I remember when we were doing the research, and a number of my colleagues, my classmates, they had to be placed in schools and so on because they probably were not at that level or whatever the case was. And for me, it was easy because I've been teaching these students all the time. And so when you're being assessed and when, the tutors and the lecturers are reviewing your lessons and, your students are there, they're already familiar with you. So it wasn't much of a challenge. When it comes to the administration of my school as well. I think that was one of another gift that I got because they were very appreciative and very understanding. And so a lot of the times when I had to go to my principal, and I remember telling him, okay, I need to do my teaching practice and I need to do it with this level. And I remember having to tell my HOD, okay, I am teaching this topic for my evaluations and all of this working together, and everybody, they were also accommodating. And so that transition between teaching and working, I guess that was one of the benefits for doing it, because now I didn't have to go find a school And I remember one of my classmates, she was teaching, I think, at primary, and then we were doing the secondary program. And so you had to be in the secondary classroom for your teaching practice. And so some of them had to be, transferred, and they had to ask for accommodation with other schools. So doing the program that way was a great benefit for me.
Okay, wonderful. And what form is it you teach? What form of form?
Right now, I'm only teaching first form, but I have taught from grade 6 all the way up to form 6
Oh,
mathematics.
wow.
Yes, that's my area. Mathematics is where I was trained. So I am a math major with a little bit of science minor. So I guess the versatility allows me to teach
Mm-hmm.
straight through.
For sure. All right. Well, kudos to you regarding mathematics. We definitely need more teachers who are qualified in order to help our students perform better in the classroom as well as for examinations. And also kudos to you, Stephanie, because I know a lot of patience. It's
Indeed.
required dealing with
Indeed.
kindergartners. But of course, we get the
Yes.
love and joy from them in
Yes.
return. Now, you both, in one way or another, have already addressed the idea or the pillar, as we call it, at the global campus of access. So you mentioned having the freedom to, like Stephanie, attend classes even while she's attending a reception for a wedding. You're able to do it while handling your responsibilities at home and different things of the sort, right? I would now like to take this opportunity to remind our audience that, of course, applications or application period is open. It's actually scheduled to close off on the 15th of December. That is next Sunday. So you still have a couple of days to get your information in order so that you can start a program with us in January 2025. Simply log on to global.uwi.edu/apply. So back to you two. Here's an interesting question. And maybe we can do it the other way around. We can start with Stephanie. What's one thing about your global campus experience that might surprise new students?
Can you repeat that?
What is one aspect of your global campus experience, your experience as a student? What is one aspect of that that may come as a surprise to persons who are starting a program?
Oh boy. When you just begin, you're like, you think you know stuff, but you just lost. It's like you don't know, you're still looking for where you belong because sometimes you go into some classes and you get other students or different groups, etc. But when I just started, what surprised me the most is that, like, I had to work with people from all different backgrounds, different cultures, and some persons, I'm like, oh my goodness, they're taking long to understand. I was shocked at certain questions that people would ask, certain things that people would ask the lecturer, even if they have already explained. What shocked me the most is that sometimes I feel like students wanted the lecturer to just give them the answers, or I thought adults were supposed to take some responsibility and the initiative to go and do extra research, but like they were not getting it. And like I was shocked because I'm like, but just do some research first, and if you're stuck, that's what really shocked me, because I had to now tell myself, Stephanie, we are all different. People are different, and as you go about, I'm sure you're going to merge and diversify and everything like that. So that was a shock for me. I thought, and like, what surprised me as a student, or what may surprise some students, is that certain things are, some persons give some excuses that you may not agree with, but you have to accept it. You have to accept it as this is what the person said and move on. So that shocked me because the excuses were not pleasant. They were out.
So you're talking about like excuses given during group work?
Like reasons why we cannot do our part and we cannot submit, and because we have to go to this and that and that. And then sometimes, you find yourself already even at an event trying to push. So you will be surprised. You will get some surprises as a student. Some of the things you bypass, you'd realize that you have to tolerate. Tolerance is something that you will have to learn, and just be patient with people. That's it. Even if you're surprised and shocked, just calm down, be respectful, and understand people for who they are. Yes.
That's a really good heads up to give to new students. Yonette, you want to jump on this question?
Indeed, one of the things that surprised me is actually maybe just piggybacking a little bit off of what Stephanie said, is the response of our tutors. I personally thought this was a distance program and a lot of it is going to be done by only me. And I downloaded every module, I looked at every video, and then you would go to class and then you have persons asking questions and I'm like, are we doing the same program? And so the way that our tutors responded and the patience that they had and the accessibility to them, I saw tutors giving out WhatsApp numbers and their Skype address for one-on-one, and they met us, when you send a message, the response. And for me, that was a kind of a surprise because I was prepared to be doing model all by myself. But thank God that was not the case because some people really needed that support.
We thank God.
From students.
We thank God for this. Honestly, I just want to add that in one form, something that surprised me as a new student is sometimes the availability of being able to easily access your tutor or your course coordinator. Sometimes it's a bit difficult. So you think like it's that easy to just tell them, like message them and whatnot, but it's not as easy as that. So it's a very good thing to be in class to ask whatever questions that you really need to. But kudos, because these tutors that I had, they gave you, if like they could pass, like go through your laptop and get to your living room, some of them would have done it. Honestly, they made themselves available, whether it's through a WhatsApp call, like you were saying. So that's a good thing for students.
And there's one experience I would never forget. We were scheduled to run just for, I think, from 7 to 8. We were there at 9 o'clock and students were still asking questions. And I remember the tutor at the time saying, she said, students, it's now 9 o'clock. I'm just going to ask you if it is okay for us to continue. I'm like, you're asking us if it's okay to continue, but this is your time. But she didn't look at it as we are taking her time. She looked at it as she was taking our time. And that was a different level of respect for me because some of us, we're busy, and I know that our tutors, because they would tell us, they work. This is not necessarily their full-time job.
Full-time jobs, yes.
Right. And so for them to take that, and I remember one of them in particular, she was in Jamaica, and so she was, if we start at 4, that means you're telling me I need to be on at 3. So it was a sacrifice that they made, and that was surprising to me, and it was really appreciated.
Okay, so that kind of helps guide us into this next question. Did studying with students from other Caribbean countries change or influence your perspective, on the region's shared challenges or the opportunities?
Well, definitely for me, I can tell you, one of the things that I was most appreciative of when you're studying mathematics, it is always good to get the perspective of what is happening across the Caribbean and to feel as though you're not alone. There are many of us in the same position. And when I hear my colleagues across the Caribbean talk about some of the challenges they face, you're able to see that this is not a localized issue.
Yeah.
This is an issue that has affected every Caribbean territory. And as much as possible, when we were able to put our heads together to share ideas of what worked in Jamaica, I still have friends right now that I'm still very good friends with from Jamaica, and what works in Dominica and all of these different countries. Those are some of the things that you get when you're studying with persons from across the Caribbean, as compared to just you and your localized group sitting in a classroom.
Yeah, for certain. And of course, all of that is thanks to the use of technology that, of course, Global Campus is heavily reliant on, particularly since COVID-19 all shook us up and we had to transition from having examinations face to face to having it online. So this takes me to this next question.
Before you go to the next question, let me just say this. As you're talking about technology, studying mathematics online made it a lot easier to teach mathematics online. And I know those persons who had to do that COVID period and who had to be online learning maths could understand some of the struggles of our students when they had to be online as well, learning math.
Okay, well, I was going to ask how did you cope with technology and online studies, but I think you've already
that was easy.
Yeah. So Stephanie, you can go ahead with that question, please.
Yes, but prior to that, you asked a question about working with people from the Caribbean islands and
the challenges and
the challenges. For me, children are the backbone of any generation. They're our future. But when you come together as Caribbean people, Caribbean teachers, right? And you merge and listen to the problems that are challenging our students, you realize that you are not in that thing alone. And so you realize Trinidad is suffering, the same things happen in St. Lucia, the same things happen in Jamaica, the same things happen in BVI, and then it gives you some hope that, hey, you're not in that thing
not struggling alone.
Not in that alone. And the other thing, when it comes to technology, believe me or not, whoever is listening, especially if you are prospective students, what you think you cannot do, Global Campus will make you do it. They will, let me tell you, you will learn skills on the computer, things that you did not fathom. You will come to a point where I think I should probably get a little thing in a circle that say graphics, because I could design stuff, like I could, and the other thing about technology is that it gives you the leverage. It gives you that opportunity to really stay in connection with people, connect, research, realize that person in Barbados and you could talk about this, you can meet online, so the technology is wonderful. Doing what you have to do, using the technology, with a group with people from the Caribbean, it's even more beautiful.
And I know for sure, for example, there are certain apps that as a student you learn about in the online environment or through your own research. So for example, I know there was a Brain app. I think the name was Brain. And it was set up in a way that you could study or read for 25 minutes. Then you would hear an alarm, so you can take a 5-minute break. And then for another 25 minutes, you come back, you study, you focus, and then you take another break until you have a more extended break. So it allows you to remain focused on your task, or it could be reading, it could be writing, it could be whatever it is. It allows you to focus. So are there any particular apps that either of you use that could perhaps serve our current students as well as prospective students along their journey?
I am not. Okay, go ahead.
You may go ahead, because I'm trying to remember the name of my apps. Yes, I use.
The thing is,
you deleted it as soon as you were done, Stephanie.
Because I am a teacher still. I'm a kindergarten teacher, and I will remain that. So deleting an app, I want to learn to be able to use it, whether it's for professional development, whether it is for something in the future. So I will not delete an app. I still use it. For example, there's this one. Oh, I learned Camtasia. There is Camtasia. There is one you can make PowerPoints on, and it comes in a bubble. I just forget its name. There are a whole lot. You can make posters and flyers because you have to do all these things at UE. I just can't remember the name right now. But
Okay, no problem.
there are beautiful apps you can use. They're right there as long as you put them.
Mhm.
One of the
Thank you,
apps
Stephanie.
my students used a lot and they taught me was Canva. I had no idea what
Canva,
that
that's the
was.
name I'm looking for.
Yes, I
Yes.
was thinking, but those PowerPoint presentations and how creative they were. And then my students started doing, they started making stories on, I can't, picto blocks or something
Sorry,
of that
something.
sort. But one of the things that I developed a lot of was my use of PowerPoint. And sometimes we underestimate it because it's been around such a long time.
Yeah.
But when my tutor told me that I had to submit a lesson recording and I had to figure out how to record myself teaching a lesson, I
Yes,
had to
yes.
use PowerPoint and I did the screen recording. And so a lot of it was still on the basic thing. And then what I would suggest, those persons who are now starting, if it is possible, do the introduction to IT early on in your semester, in the beginning, in your first year. Because a lot of what we were taught, creating flyers and all of these things, I ended up doing that IT program in my final year. And I'm like, boy, I should have done this before.
Oh gosh.
Because all of it I was already familiar with, you know, the Excel when it comes to record keeping as teachers, the access and database, and even the functionalities of Microsoft Word as a math teacher, putting in those equations. And listen, anybody who's studying math, prepare to type equation after equation after equation. Because if your setup does not look right, it makes it difficult to understand. And so you need to use that equation function and use it effectively if you want to remember what it is you're doing.
Wonderful. Okay, so let's look at your personal lives in terms of being a mother, a wife, your professional life in terms of being a teacher, and any other areas. Because, for example, Yonette, you mentioned that you're very active in the church.
In church, correct.
So when you were a student at the Global Campus, can you just tell the audience how were you able to maintain some semblance of a healthy work-life balance? And I say balance because that's
yeah, I see the air quotes. It's not balanced, but yes. For me, I'll tell you, let's start off with my church. I am a Seventh Adventist, and as a Seventh Adventist, I look forward to Friday evenings when the Sabbath began, and I dreaded when it went down on Saturday evening because I knew it was back to work. All right. I thoroughly enjoyed my Sabbath rest, and I took a lot of that time to spend with my family, a lot of that time to deal with my spirituality. In the mornings, when I have that time to do my family devotion and so on, we get a chance to catch up just after. But on Saturday nights, on Saturday evenings, when Sabbath would have ended, most of the times I did not just go straight into UB. I took that Saturday evening to spend time with my family. So we would go somewhere or do something, and I would always give one of them a chance to choose what we would do, even if it is just to stay home and watch a movie. But I am so thankful that, you know, my husband and my children, they were very supportive. And so they would know when I am at my workstation, they would know, okay, I'm just going to leave her because it's going to run from 10 maybe all the way to midnight, you know. And then, like, my husband, he was my proofreader. I must say thank you for that, because
you got a 2-in-1.
even that 25-page research. I remember when I went to him, I said, babe, I really need you to put, he was like, sure, no problem. When he saw 20, he was like, 25 pages, but he went through it. And my sisters, I would call them to bounce ideas off of them. And I would say to them, look, this is what's happening to me. And I'm really stuck. What should I do? How should I approach this? And so once you're able to have that backing and that support, it makes it a lot easier. Because my youngest, she's 9 now. And so she would have had maybe about 3 years of mommy studying.
Okay.
And of course, I was so thankful that she's a daddy's girl. So when she couldn't get me, she would scurry over to daddy, and that would give me, some break. And the older ones, they took up the slack. They were able to support the younger ones and help with whatever was needed. So I would say, if you have that back in, do not be afraid to use it. Many times we want to play Hercules or Wonder Woman, and we want to do everything ourselves. But take advantage of your support system that you have.
Yes, that's true. The idea of Wonder Woman is simply fictitious.
Exactly.
Make use of your support system so that you can maintain some semblance of a healthy work-life balance. So what about you, Stephanie? How were you able to try to have that work-life balance?
For me, sometimes the balance was imbalanced. It was not balancing. There were days the balance was not balancing, right? But I am a loner, right? When I want to accomplish something, I tend to starve all distractions. So there's nothing in the world
That's your superpower.
Make me feel like I'm missing anything in the world, because my mind is on one thing, and that one thing is I want to be something different in my family. As in my grandmother's many grandchildren, I think I am the only person who have ever earned a degree, and especially first class, I have a very small circle of people, and some days I'm like, you know what, I finish with you, I quit with you, you just give me a headache like this. I'm tired. I am literally tired. But they will tell me, nah, you cannot give up, obviously, because you have already put in 2 semesters, 3 semesters, you are closer to the end, right? So that little thing kept me going. And then I also had my personal goals. What I also was encouraged by is my principal, though I may not have said it to her face to face, like, openly like that, but she was very supportive. Though I had to do all the tests, prepare all the exams, scheme books due, everything is due on a Monday. Then on the weekend, you have, on a weekend, I go to church at times, but there were times where I could not make it to church because of the workload. I just want, even if I went to church, I would be typing a whole assignment in my head. So yes, that's me, because I want to get it done, But my principal was really understanding, not that I could not submit, but for example, I would do the work, but so much on my mind, I would forget everything that I printed at home, right on the table. And I would get to this without it, because, so much is on the, but she was so understandable. She was there to say, Miss Fenelon, that's okay and whatnot. But I was very much involved in everything that I was normal, because like they would still ask me, but aren't you studying? Like, how are you able to do all these things? And yet it's just because I was focused. I knew what I wanted. I was going to get it. And that is that. That's it. And that's that. So I just remained focused. I did it. I took away friends. I lost some. I was like, you know what? Focus.
Yeah.
And that's and
If
that's
I can add something else here. I remember after my first year, my very first semester, I think I started with 4 courses. And that was your first semester should not be 4 courses. And I remember talking with my advisor after, and they were like, with 4 courses, that is crazy on a part-time schedule. You should not have been doing that many courses. And so when I think back, when I started, and then I was changing jobs, I was moving to a new school. And so I decided I'm going to take a year off. And I took that year off. And I was so disappointed that, I felt like I am, I'm defeated because I'm weak. I can't manage starting a new job and studying at the same time. I felt like I should have been able to transition, but I didn't know what starting a new job was going to be like, teaching in a different environment. Would I be able to? And I decided, you know what, instead of putting that added pressure, just take the year off.
Yeah.
And that was to me the best decision that I make. And I know sometimes when we're studying, we are using other person's yardstick. We want to finish and we want to do it like them. But it is important for us to realize our balance. For me, I needed to be able to spend time with my family. I had students, children, my personal children, who are writing CXC. And can you imagine your children are writing CXC and you're teaching math and your children struggling in math? That would not be fair, right?
Yeah, for
And
sure.
so I had to make sure that in my balance, certain things that are a priority are taken care of, even if it meant doing one course during a
Yeah.
semester,
Mhm.
right? Especially when they were during their studies. So it is important that when we're making decisions, we make decisions that are important, that is best suiting us and our lifestyle, and not feel as though we have to be pressured into doing extra or going overboard, like, some other persons may be doing because they have the resources or the capabilities to do it.
Yes, yes, yes. And not everyone has the same support
Yes,
systems,
I agree.
etc. So yeah, you have to do what you can handle. Now, on the 9th of December, we would have had our graduation ceremony.
Yes, please.
Okay,
Finally.
Stephanie, tell us what was that like for you? Stephanie said yes, please. So let's start with you. What was that ceremony
On the 9th of
like
November,
for you?
you mean you said we would have had it if it was face to face on the 9th of December?
No, we had our graduation on the 9th of November.
November, yes.
So what was that like for you? Did you graduate virtually? Did you
Well,
you
it was
attend
virtual
face-to-face?
for me. At first, I was disappointed. I was like, I really work hard for that thing, I
Mm-hmm.
want to be there in person. Then there was this back and forth, sending little
Yeah.
surveys, what was going on and the feel. And then there was an explanation as to why there would not be a face-to-face graduation and et cetera, et cetera. I told myself, well, graduation anyway, I really want the photos, as my memory, and this is what I want. And so if I am able to pay to get that done or to do my photo shoot, this is what I really want,
Mm.
So it didn't weigh down on me and make me feel so much disappointed like others, But there was a level of disappointment. However, that passed, and when I came to understand the different situations of different persons, I said, you know what? It was good. It was good. Yes, it was
All right.
good. Yeah.
When I think about the 9th of November, one of the things that struck me it was so short. Your 15 minutes of fame was just about what, 5 or 10 seconds?
Yes,
And
yes.
so the whole idea of graduating didn't really sink in because you went to the site, the local site, you put on the robe for just maybe what, 2 minutes, if not much, and then your photo was taken and that was it. And I think to a large extent, the virtual graduation, while I understand that the situations did not allow, I think it is something that they need to revisit, even if it is just to say that at every center, maybe they should do something.
I
Because
agree.
I think a lot of family members, I know my husband, for
Yes.
example, remember he read that 25-page
He was
research,
heavily
and he
invested
was
in
telling
that.
me, we're going to Grenada, by the however it happens, and then to hear then that there is no face-to-face graduation, I think it did shortchange a lot of those family members and those supporters who worked hard with
Mhm.
us.
Yes.
to be able to graduate and then to be able to sit there, and then that never happened. So a lot of the times, when we make these decisions, we as the persons who graduates, we understand that these were the conditions and this was the case. But I think
Right.
to say that there is no graduation flat out, that was a bit difficult. They should have had maybe something at the sites in every territory, or something close so that they could have done individually. Let's say two islands who are close could have said, okay, all the students here, let's try maybe meeting here for a weekend and we do something, or whatever the case is, so that those persons who would have invested so much feel as
Yes.
though they were granted something. And when you look at the other universities with all of their different levels, they have a Sunday
Yes.
night this and then they have the big graduation, and then we had 5 seconds on a screen, and just to
Yes.
mention your name, not even a lot of our stories were mentioned. So it would have been good to have something
Yeah.
else.
Let me just jump in and say that, Janet. For me, like you said, it dawned on me when I went on Instagram and you just hit the search bar. Let me tell you, you have to be in it to really feel it. When you hit that search bar, you're gonna get hundreds of people who graduated, whether it's in Barbados or Trinidad, they were like right there. They were celebrated. And that's when I was like, it really feels good to have been celebrated face to face,
Right.
And I agree with you. I really think that we should revisit it and perhaps in the future do a little thing for us, whether it's on the side, like something celebrating, not just we watching ourselves on the screen, but something that's solid. Whether you give me a little scroll that I did whatever first class honors or whatever, it could be a little something that has like
Right.
just something to feel that after 3 or 4 years, look, this is there. This is a reminder.
Something a little bit more than
the
5
highlight
seconds.
of your journey. Well, the option for persons to attend graduation at the other campuses is always available to our global campus students
Right.
and graduates. So, for example, the closest would be Barbados. So we had a couple of students who would have gone over from St. Lucia to Barbados to graduate at Cave Hill, right? So some persons would have gone. I'm not too sure if many would have gone to Trinidad, but others would have gone. We had a good bit, well, a couple of them who went to Antigua as well. So
Okay.
it may not be something that can take place at every single site due to some of the factors that persons like yourselves are already exposed to. There are certain things that are being put into place. So, for example, sites are encouraged to have or to host watch parties for the students. So it may not be something that has a huge fanfare, but even this year we had it for the second time, and we had about 15 to 20 students who attended, and they received tokens, they received some gifts, they had some champagne, everybody cheered for each other when they saw them on screen and things of the sort. So, in whatever small way we can celebrate, we will celebrate our students until we can offer something on a much grander scale. Right? So, thank you too for sharing your graduation experience with us. And to our viewers, remember the application period is still open until December 15th. That is next week, Sunday. So if you're inspired by the very interesting stories from our two graduates this evening, please feel free to log on to global.uwi.edu/apply so that you can get started on your application so that we can see you in January. Now we have just about 10 minutes left in our session. So I will ask you just a couple more questions. I think you've already told us generally what you have been up to since you graduated. The two of you are still teaching. But has there been anything new, any new adventure that you've ventured into since you've graduated? As you may have more time on your hands now?
going to bed at 10 p.m. No, as a university student, when you're at university, going to bed at 10 p.m. would be a luxury, right? Yeah, but on the serious side, I am now spending a lot more time with my family, my daughters, and we talk all the time about everything, and it is refreshing to not have to be like, okay, I gotta go because I have to go finish this assignment, or
Yeah.
my eldest daughter, she's at university. When she calls, she's like, Mommy, you don't have any assignments now. I said, no. So it's nice to not have to say that I have to go, because so I'm now teasing her. When I call her, she's like, Mommy, I'm doing an assignment. I said, well, now you see who's doing the assignment.
And you
But
can catch
that
up
is
on those
I think
rom-coms.
just for this period, I just want to just relax and catch up on some sleep and catch up on some work as well. No, not
What
having
about
to
the
be
rom-coms? You're
behind.
not you're not catching up on the rom-coms?
Oh, definitely, definitely. I have more time for them now, so I don't have to binge watch. I can, watch some every day.
For me,
Certainly.
I I'm researching and researching and researching universities to do my master's degree.
Mm-hmm.
However, I have always declared that sleep is one of the most beautiful thing in the world, right?
Yes.
And when I was at UWI, I had that routine where it's like you just come home and you have assignments, you go to bed at 2,
Or
you
a
get up,
class.
then
Mm-hmm.
on a weekend you still have group work, and then you try to balance everything. But now, not that I get bored easily. I like my mind to always be engaged, right? But at least I can go to bed early. If I want to go to bed now, have some tea, etc., I could go to bed. So that's a luxury. Teaching, not really a new venture, but with all that you have learned,
Mm-hmm.
you're really looking at your students in the classroom, and you are trying to apply. Remember, because it would be futile to do a program for 3 to 4 years just because you wanted to do a program, right? I am not able to do that. So I try to look at them in that lens that I have studied you people for 3 years, right? So now let me see what you about and understand them. So that's the beauty of it for me. I can literally use it from age 0 to 8, or whichever child comes my way. Quickly remember something that I learned, something that I researched, and say, you know what, this is what may be going on there. This is what may be going on there. So
Mm-hmm.
Right.
that's the beauty of it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, wonderful. I really love those two responses. Now, looking back on your global campus journey or experience, what is one of the best things that you have discovered or learned about yourself along that journey? I know earlier Yonet had mentioned being able to enhance her IT skills, right? Was it Yonet or was it you, Stephanie?
Yes.
It was Yonet. It was
Okay.
Yonet.
Yes. So just share with us some of the things that you would have learned about yourself along that journey.
What's that?
Mhm.
I think I am more tolerant. I have learned to be tolerant. I have learned to appreciate and accept people for who they are. Um, I I just like it opened my eyes to a whole new world, and lose my train of thought. Let's go to Unit.
That's fine. Yes, Yonet, go ahead.
For me, I think I have learned to lean a little bit more on others. I
Mhm.
am generally the type to want to do everything, and I want it done this way, and it must be just this. But when you have University of the West Indies open campus, you will
Hey,
learn that you have to trust others and trust the process, especially when you're placed in groups with
Mhm.
persons that are gonna test every bit of your patience.
every.
Then Yes. And so I guess even with that, it brings a little bit of tolerance as well. And most importantly for me, I had to learn how to balance. I had to learn how to depend on God because believe you me, some of the things that I accomplished at UE was only because of God. I really do not know how I was able to afford. And you know, these experiences, when you sum it all up, it's just to say that it makes you a better person. It makes you stronger. It makes you more resilient. If you decide in your first year of UE that you're going to give up, then you're not learning the lesson that UE wants to teach you.
Hey,
That is a
One of the
lesson
many
that
lessons.
each of us will benefit from. That perseverance, that persistence, because your very first year will be challenging. You
yes.
have to learn how to monitor your time management. I think that was one of my other lessons because you think that, oh, I have the time, and you're given an assignment, and UE does that. It gives you your assignment at the beginning of the semester. You know when it is due, and what do you say? I have the time. And then
Yeah.
you realize 1 week before your deadline that you don't have the time. And so it teaches you that time management, how to study, how to practice, and still be able to complete your assignments.
I want to add that for me, it taught me that I can do it. When you have let me tell you, hey, when you have 4 practicums, right? When you have 4 practicums to do, and the third practicum is 10 lessons, and the sec with 10, and the last one is 20 lesson plans. That lesson plan cannot be this and that with 20 reflections. And you have to, let me tell you, God, but it taught me that I can do anything that I put my mind to do.
Yes.
Okay, that's good. These are some major lessons that you two have learned along the way, and I'm sure it will impact you as well as your loved ones moving forward. So, as we wrap up, I would like to provide you two with the opportunity to say some kind words to the friends, family members, loved ones, supporters, because of course you would have had a support team, whether it be big or small. Just extend some words to them, whatever it is you may have had the opportunity to say in private or otherwise.
Well,
Okay.
I have
Go
some
ahead.
wonderful people, which I don't want to mention, but I would like to say thank you for being there with me. My best friend, Yvonne Uselter, she was there. We were studying, and I was like, I finished with that thing, but she'd be like, nah, man, we eating it. We still doing it, you know? Going to church helped. You know, you have people telling you, I see you doing great things. People telling you you want honor roll. I don't know nothing about that because I'm not looking for that. But they remind you that, hey, there are people with expectations, and there are people, those persons were there looking at me as an example, especially in my family, the younger people, and we realize that, wait, though she started late, her schooling journey late, look at where she is. And so they looked and they messaged me privately. I would like to say thank you. Thank you for staying with me. Thank you for not giving up. Thank you for those who I could never make it to your parties or your events. I could call. I just want to say I appreciate everyone, my colleagues, the few friends who were there, who pressed on, who, thank you. Merci.
And I know for sure you had a very heartwarming story regarding your journey. So I'm sure you've extended gratitude to your
Yes.
grandparents
Oh,
as
I have to
well.
say my mom in France. Thank you.
Okay, fantastic. So, Yonette, you have 1 minute to go ahead and extend your gratitude.
Wow. 1 minute.
It's enough
All
time, but
right.
let's see.
I am most grateful to my family, my husband, my children, my in-laws, my siblings, our parents, the administration of the school that I am working at, the BBI St. Adventist School. You know, even my friends, I have some colleagues that some friends that I made while I was at UE, you know, and some of us, our journey was just 1 semester. But in that one semester, we stuck it out and we did it together, right? And I have one of my friends that she graduated with me this year. And it was so amazing that even now we're still friends, Jamila, right? And she lives all the way in Jamaica. And so when I think of all the comments and all of the support that I got, it's not just, it's everyone, persons online, persons who would have heard, the struggles and just wanted to help in whatever way. Even when I needed my students, how could I not say thank you to them? Because they were a big part of that research and being able to sit still in class while you're being supervised. And so I am just thankful to everyone, those persons who have prayed for and with me and, whatever financial support, and I have some of the most supportive people in my circle. And I just want to say thank you to everyone, every single one of them.
1 second, I would like to say thanks to Miss Maria Melvin. She's an excellent tutor. You should always keep her and never let her go. She is a gem. Thank you, Miss Mervin.
Maureen, big up to you for that.
I feel that way about all of my tutors. They did extra. All of my tutors. I don't have a complaint about any one of my tutors at UWI. That was surprising to me, like I said.
I'm happy to hear that. Stephanie, thank you very much for being here with us this evening, as well as you, Yonette Story. And of course, final reminder for those who are tuned in, if you are interested in joining us in January 2025, application is open and it is scheduled to close off on the 15th of December 2024 so that we can see you in semester 2, 2024-2025. And that, of course, is for our undergraduate programs. Thank you once again for joining us and making this program a success. Thank you very much, Stephanie Felino, for sharing some information about your journey.
It was a pleasure.
The same goes to you, Yonette Sylvie. Thank you very much for taking time out from your family and your work to spend some time with us this evening.
It's not time out from them. They're listening. They're too excited. They're listening.
Okay, well, thank you for your support systems and for them tuning in to this session. On behalf of all of us here at the UWI Global Campus, we wish you continued success in your various ventures. Thank you to Patrick Johnson in the background and to Marcia Reed. They both would have been handling the technical matters in the background. So thank you all again. Today's session has shown, of course, how the UWI Global Campus continues to open doors to learning and growth across the Caribbean. We hope you feel inspired by what we covered today, and we hope you feel inspired also to start your journey with us. Your future self will definitely thank you. So again, until the next time, I am Sigifani Bryan. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.